we were talking about the soul.
Yeah,
What
we
is
should
the
get back to
soul?
the soul.
So
And what
I
actually you didn't
haven't
tell
given
us.
my
Please,
Yeah,
yes,
definition
yes.
of the
absolutely.
soul. So um, I think that again, been trying to understand, and this is one of the questions that have been driven my life, especially as an artist, I would say, because I always, I remember when I was a kid, my father is a painter.
Hmm.
He he
Amazing.
painted
Yeah. Amazing.
this beautiful
Artwork. Yeah.
artwork that we have here. And I remember when I was a kid and I would sneak into his studio and witness the way he was creating, right? And to me, what the way I remember that was like a medium, like a sort of medium, just channeling
Mm,
something through his
mm,
vessel, right? Just
mm,
bringing that whatever thing that was happening in his, not even in his mind, his body, and just putting that in out there in the canvas. So, and I was always, and then my mom was into music, right? So I remember when I was a kid having those beautiful gatherings with all their friends, and that was maybe the inception of what we do anytime we have a
mm,
gathering with
mm,
friends
mm,
and whatever, right? And she was a big fan of soul music,
mm. Okay.
right? And I was like, from back there, I was thinking, what is that thing that they called soul?
Mm,
And I was, I'm just like you. I don't follow any religion. I grew up in Catholicism because that was in when I was living in Mexico and then in
yeah.
Cuba and whatever. But I never attached my beliefs or my to any religion because
Yeah.
I had the fortune to be raised in this environment of artists
Mm,
who would see the world completely different, and they didn't force me to any of that, right? But I was intrigued by the creative process, and I was always thinking, what makes a painting of my father different from Kandinsky or from Picasso
mm,
or from any other painter is not the technique, is not, it's whatever he has inside of him,
okay.
whatever he's
Hmm.
bringing, whatever he is connected with. And funny enough, when my mom introduced me to soul singers, right?
Hmm.
And I remember like the first time I saw Ray Charles, right? And he was mixing jazz with blues with
Yeah.
you know church kind of music, and I would see him and I would see the same thing that I remember seeing with my father, someone who was channeling
Hmm.
something,
Okay.
right? And I was so intrigued. I was like, what is that? What is that? Then, as an artist, I've been trying to understand more of what is that thing that we call the mind. What is that thing that we call consciousness, or and or slash and
Yeah.
subconsciousness?
Hmm. Hmm.
What is it? What is that thing that we call the soul, and what is that thing? What is the difference between the soul and the spirit, as she was
Yeah, I
mentioning?
want to get on that if we have time.
Yeah, so what is all of that? I don't have an explanation, but the way I can explain it to
Yeah.
myself is that, as Einstein said, there is matter and there is energy, and we transform from matter into energy and vice versa. Then that means there is a bridge. There is a constant communication between the matter,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the energy that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, the soul is
Yeah.
that energy that sustains
Right.
the body, and
Right.
the body that could be created
Right.
For instance, in painting, we're not just seeing the painting. We're not just seeing the canvas, the piece of fabric and the wood that's sustaining that painting, right? We're not just seeing the colors. We're seeing something else. When we're listening to that music, why is it that something resonates differently? What is it that we can see someone and connect to that person's energy? What is that? What's that thing attracting us to something?
So to you, the soul is the energy of the person.
Some spiritual energy or
I think that yes. I mean the soul is the way I would explain it. This is, and again, you guys can kill me if you want. You please leave me your comments, leave us your comments because I want to hear it and I want to learn from all of you. But to me, the soul, yes, it is the energy that it's individual. It's that thing that makes us be who we are. The spirit to me is the connectivity that we have with the oneness.
That's a Catholic approach.
Not really.
No, yeah.
No, not
I
really.
just read it today.
No, but
between soul and spirit. The soul is related to your persona and to your own body.
Okay,
and the spirit is what, like, to the
idea of the Trinity. The Trinity, it's exactly what you're talking about.
No, and the spirit is just like what transcends.
What transcends back to.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And Zair, because I wonder if we're all saying a little bit of the same thing. And I'm going to bring it back to what I said about quantum. And because maybe how I use the word quantum and you're thinking about spirit or energy that's going back up. And I'll tell you how I'm tying this together. But Zair, you had said that you imagine the soul goes into the, let's say, the one, the source, the universe, right? And you're sort of saying the same thing, Guillermo, right? Like the soul or the spirit does return, the energy returns back to the universe, God, or the everything, right? And Buddhism has this idea that your soul or spirit returns to the source, right? And I'm just saying, using quantum, because if quantum's a type of energy, and there's this theory that perhaps the universe itself, because on a quantum level has its own consciousness, maybe that quantum energy within us returns to the quantum source of the universe. And so we might be saying the same thing, just using different words.
Well, I was actually about to get into that because the reason why I said no is not just a Catholic idea. Is because when you really pay attention to what's going on right now in terms of science, the one of the newest theses in science, is the fact that consciousness could be fundamental, just like time. It's something that it has always been there. And the only difference that we have between the fundamental consciousness and the way we receive that information is as Carl Jung used to say, individuality. Your individual, experience. And so your individual experience would be, to me, that would be the soul, and the spirit would be that
return to
that fundamental consciousness that lives there, has always been there, but and we have access to it, right? We have access to it. We're connected to that thing somehow, but just in this experience, we are accessing through that thing that we call the soul.
Okay.
That's the way I would explain it.
Well, thank you, because I didn't know that there's a difference between soul and spirits. To me, I thought it's one and the same, just different words.
We don't really know if there is a difference or if just a way to. I think we're trying to understand it and make sense of it the best we can. Because then, to that regard, and I love the definition, but to that regard, then. So what happens when you die? So with that soul, because it's not, because the spirit, the collective consciousness is right there, like the God, the source is right there, but being your soul, like your individuality, how is the source coming back to the soul coming back to that source. But I think it's a lot to cut, and because we don't have the answers,
Right.
we are gonna bring real
Yes,
people
yes.
that will
Yeah,
have
yeah,
real
yeah.
answers,
Yeah.
and that will help be able to teach us something new. And in that
Right.
regard, we have a list of guests that are coming to the show every week, and we'll
Yeah.
pick up their minds.
Yeah, and it's as I have been saying, to all the way to the end, like please, please, please leave the comment, leave your impression, share with us whatever idea you have, because then we can also bring that to the next episode, to next week.
Absolutely.
And we can start questioning ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And we can bring that in front of any new guests that we may have. So yeah. Here's something that I also want to share with the audience, because we do this all the time in our conversations. Quickly, 3 words that would define the soul in your perspective.
I would say a life force, a fundamental self, your essential self, fundamental. And I would say something that is the culmination of mind and body coming together. So it's the culmination of the person, who they are.
Those
in
are
total.
too many
I know.
words.
I know.
words.
I have
Just
one
3
word.
words.
3
fine.
words. Okay, I'll try 3 words. Self, energy, and
Fundamental.
Quantum. Wow.
Unknown, understanding, force.
I would go for source. I love the idea of source. Energy, for sure. And I would say flow is that thing that's flowing inside of us. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah.
It's been
We'll
great.
see. We'll see. Yeah, this was great. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
I can't wait to bring some guests on, and can't wait for what we're going to learn.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You want more matcha and coffee?
Come visit.
Yeah, I'm almost done.